The jungle of Vethra pulsed with life. Bioluminescent vines curled like glowing serpents across the ancient trees, and silver mist drifted over the mossy floor. Every sound, every rustle of leaves, every distant cry was sharpened by the silence that followed. In this land, even silence was dangerous. Silra moved like a shadow among the trees. Her skin shimmered faintly blue under the glow of alien moonlight, and her silver eyes narrowed as she notched an arrow to her bone-carved bow. She was a huntress, born of the Frost Moon clan, feared for her skill, and sworn to protect her people. Tonight, she hunted alone. A low hiss echoed through the undergrowth. Her ears twitched. Muscles tensed. Slowly, she pivoted toward the sound. The hiss came again, longer, closer, hungry. From the shadows, it emerged. A serpent longer than 10 men, its scales dark as void, its eyes burning red like coals. Venom dripped from its fangs, sizzling where it struck the glowing moss. The air itself seemed to recoil from the beast. Silra drew her arrow, calm and ready. She had faced beasts before. She had killed monsters greater than this. But this serpent was different. It lunged with blinding speed. She loosed the arrow. It struck true deep into one of its eyes. The beast shrieked, the jungle shaking with its fury. Yet before Silra could draw again, the serpent's tail whipped through the air. She was lifted and thrown like a doll, crashing against a twisted root. Her bow shattered. The breath tore from her chest. And then she felt it, the burning kiss of fangs piercing her thigh. Agony unlike anything she had ever known ripped through her. Fire and ice surged together, flooding her veins. She gasped, clawing at the wound, but the venom spread too fast. Her skin turned pale, glowing faintly where the poison burned inside. The serpent slithered away into the mist, wounded but alive, leaving her to die. Silra collapsed to her knees, vision fracturing into shards of light. Her breath came shallow, ragged. She pressed her hand to the wound, but it was useless. The poison was not of this world, it was older, crafted by nature itself as a weapon. Not like this, she whispered, her voice trembling with rage and sorrow. Memories flashed, her clan, her oath, the faces of those who depended on her. She thought of the frost moon sky, of battles won, of the long road she had yet to walk. She had promised herself she would not fall easily. But the venom showed no mercy. She staggered forward a few steps, every movement weaker than the last. Her hand clawed at the bark of a luminous tree for balance, leaving smears of blood glowing faintly against its surface. The jungle swayed around her, colors twisting and bending, the edges of reality dissolving. The huntress who had never bowed, who had never begged, fell to the moss. Her heartbeat slowed. Her breath faltered. She could feel the cryoshock rising, the final defense of her body, sealing her between life and death. Soon she would be a frozen husk, another silent ghost among the jungle's countless dead. The glowing vines above flickered as if mourning her. She wanted to curse the serpent. She wanted to scream. But all she could manage was a whisper carried on trembling lips. Not yet. Her eyes drifted to the stars beyond the canopy, silver light fading in and out. She thought of destiny, of the stories told by her elders, that sometimes fate sent strangers across the thread of worlds. But no one was here. The jungle fell quiet, save for her fading heartbeat. The huntress lay broken, her skin cold, her blood glowing faintly with venom's cruel fire. The silence thickened, heavy, final. And then a sound. Footsteps. Faint, cautious, but real. Silra's dimming eyes widened slightly. Someone, something, was there. Through the silver haze of her fading vision, she saw a figure moving through the mist. Not alien. Not of her kind. A human. And before darkness swallowed her, the Huntress thought. Why? The mist closed in. Her heartbeat stuttered. Her eyes slipped shut. And her fate, once sealed in poison, waited for a stranger's hand to decide. Her life now hung by a single thread, and that thread was about to be touched by human hands. The jungle mist curled like smoke around ancient roots as the human stepped into the clearing. His boots crunched softly against glowing moss, his eyes scanning the shadows with wary caution. Dren was his name. A scavenger, a survivor, a man who had wandered too far from the broken colony ships of his people. He had come to Vethra's jungle in search of rare medicine, a plant said to heal fevers and burns. He expected danger, he always did, but he did not expect what he found that night. At first, he thought it was only another corpse. The jungle was full of them, after all. But then he saw her chest rise faint, shallow. Blue skin, silver hair tangled in blood and dirt, a wound glowing with eerie light on her thigh. Dren froze. His heart hammered in his chest. What the hell, he whispered, crouching beside her. She looked nothing like him, yet there was no mistaking the truth. This woman, this alien, was alive. Barely. Her eyes fluttered open for just a second. Silver irises, cold as starlight, met his. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came. Venom. And then she collapsed back into unconsciousness. Dren's pulse quickened. He knew venom when he saw it. The glowing wound was no ordinary injury, it was a death sentence. The poison was spreading fast, visible under her skin like fire racing through veins of glass. He could turn away. He could let her die, pretend he never saw her. She wasn't human. She wasn't his responsibility. But something in her eyes, the way she clung to life, the way she refused to surrender even at the edge of death, it struck him. Damn it, he muttered, dropping his pack. Why is it always me? He knelt beside her, examining the wound. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from urgency. He had treated snakebites before, back on Earth. The method was brutal but sometimes worked. But here? On this alien world? He had no idea if it would save her or kill them both. Still, he couldn't watch her fade. All right, he muttered. Let's gamble. He pulled a knife from his belt and, with grim precision, sliced just above the wound. The alien woman groaned faintly, body twitching in pain. Thick, glowing blood seeped out, laced with venom that shimmered green and black. Dren pressed his lips to the wound and sucked. The taste hit him instantly: acid, fire, something that did not belong in any living body. He spat violently onto the ground, where the venom hissed and burned holes into the moss. His throat burned, his lips went numb, but he pressed on. Again and again, sucking the poison out, spitting it into the dirt. His stomach clenched. His vision blurred. But he refused to stop. Come on, he gasped, spitting another mouthful of burning fluid. The alien's chest heaved weakly, her pulse still faint beneath his trembling fingers. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, the flow of venom slowed. Her skin still glowed faintly with poison, but the spreading fire in her veins had lessened. Dren collapsed back, coughing, spitting, his mouth aflame with bitter numbness. He wiped his lips with the back of his sleeve, staring at the alien Huntress. Don't you dare die, he whispered. Not after I just drank jungle acid for you. But even as he spoke, her body convulsed. Her skin turned colder, her breath shallower. Cryoshock. Dren had seen it once before, in a colonist bitten by a Vethran beast. The body froze itself, sealing away life in a fragile shell between death and survival. Her chest stopped moving. Her eyes fluttered shut. No, Dren muttered, shaking her shoulder. Stay with me. Damn it, don't do this. He pressed his ear to her chest. No heartbeat. For a moment, he sat frozen in silence, the jungle whispering around him. Had he failed? Had he risked his own life for nothing? His hands shook as he pulled her closer, cradling her head in his lap. You can't just die like this, he whispered, voice breaking. I don't even know your name. But the Huntress did not stir. The jungle grew quiet again, the mist heavy, the night colder. And then, a flicker. Her skin shimmered faintly, frost crawling over her limbs as her body locked itself in stasis. It wasn't life, but it wasn't death either. Dren exhaled shakily. All right, guess you're not giving up that easy. Good. Neither am I. He gathered wood, built a fire, and laid her beside its warmth. For 2 days, he would watch over her, fighting to keep her from slipping away entirely. And in the silent hours of that first night, as the fire crackled and the mist curled, the human whispered to the unconscious alien. You're not dying on me. Not tonight. She lay frozen between life and death, while a stranger fought the jungle itself to keep her alive. The fire crackled weakly, casting orange light against the pale blue of her skin. Dren sat slumped beside her, exhaustion carved into his features. For 2 days, the jungle had been his enemy. For 2 days, he had fought off hunger, thirst, and prowling beasts, all while refusing to let the alien Huntress die. Her body remained cold, frozen in that strange stasis. Breathless. Silent. As if she were carved from ice. But Dren knew there was still a thread. Fragile. Invisible. Barely there. He refused to let go of it. He talked to her as if she could hear him. Stories of Earth, of the broken colony ships, of the way his people scavenged scraps just to stay alive. He cursed the serpent. He cursed himself for caring. And sometimes, when the jungle grew too quiet, he sang old songs, half-forgotten words meant only to keep the silence away. On the second night, as rain drummed against the canopy, he leaned over her still form and whispered. You're not dying here. You hear me? I didn't drink poison and spit fire for 2 hours just so you could quit on me. No way. He touched her hand, it was cold as stone. He squeezed anyway. And then, something changed. Her fingers twitched. Barely. But enough. Dren's heart jolted. He leaned closer. Hey, come on. Stay with me. Her chest shuddered. A breath escaped, ragged, shallow. Frost cracked across her skin as if breaking under invisible pressure. Slowly, painfully, her body remembered life. And then her eyes opened. Silver. Bright. Piercing even in weakness. Dren exhaled a laugh of pure relief. Well, about damn time. She blinked, confusion flashing across her face. Her lips parted, words slow and fragile. You? Yeah, me, Dren said, forcing a grin though his throat was tight. The idiot who kept you alive. You're welcome. Silra tried to sit up, but her limbs betrayed her, trembling like branches in the wind. Dren steadied her carefully. You removed it, she whispered, her voice like distant thunder. The venom? Yeah, he said. Most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. Don't recommend it. Her gaze sharpened despite her weakness. She studied him as if measuring his very soul. You took my poison into yourself, she said. Not a question, an accusation, and something more. Dren shrugged, trying to mask the weight of her words. Seemed like the only option. Silra's hand, still trembling, rose and pressed against his chest, just over his heart. You do not understand, she whispered. Among my people, such an act is sacred. To draw death from another, to take it into yourself, it binds you. For life. Dren froze. Come again? Her silver eyes locked onto his. You are Thalves now. What now? Thalves, she repeated, her voice stronger. Two bound as one. No death, no time, no distance can sever it. Dren blinked. You're saying I married you by accident? Her lips curled faintly, the shadow of a smile, though her eyes remained solemn. Not marriage. Bond. Stronger. You carry my venom. I carry your breath. We are tied. He rubbed his forehead. Great. First alien I meet and I accidentally sign some cosmic marriage contract. Her smile faded. Do you regret saving me? The question hit him harder than he expected. He looked at her, truly looked. At the scars on her skin, the fire in her eyes, the strength barely hidden under weakness. No, he said finally. Not for a second. For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. The jungle whispered around them, alive with unseen eyes, but in that clearing, only the two of them existed. Silra drew a sharp breath, as if sealing some unspoken vow. Then she leaned back, exhaustion pulling at her again. You are strange, human, she murmured. But fate has chosen you. Fate's got lousy taste, Dren muttered. Her eyes flickered shut, though this time not from poison or death. From rest. From trust. Dren watched her, unsure what had just changed, but knowing it could never be undone. He whispered into the firelight, Guess it's you and me now, huh? And though she slept, the faintest smile touched her lips. She had awakened. Not just to life, but to a bond that neither could escape. The morning air in Vethra was heavy with mist, carrying scents of moss, strange flowers, and distant rain. Silra stood at the edge of the clearing, her cloak of woven shadowvine flowing around her pale frame. She was stronger now, though her steps still carried traces of recent weakness. Behind her, Dren was packing the last of his supplies into a weathered satchel. Half-empty energy bars, a water purifier, his dented canteen, and his beloved, holy but unwashed socks. He muttered curses under his breath as a beetle the size of his fist crawled out of the bag and scurried away. Your forest hates me, he grumbled. Silra glanced back, a trace of amusement flickering in her silver eyes. The forest does not hate. It tests. Yeah, well, it's doing a great job. He slapped a buzzing insect from his neck. Pretty sure I've failed. You still breathe, she said simply. So you pass. He shook his head. You're impossible. She tilted her head. And you are loud. For the first time since she had awakened, Dren laughed, not out of nerves, but genuine. The sound startled Silra, but she did not say it. Instead, she adjusted her bone-carved daggers at her belt and motioned forward. We leave now. The cult will have seen the fire from your crash. They will hunt. Yeah, no pressure, Dren muttered, tightening his harness straps. Just hunted by fanatics on an alien death world. Totally fine. Their journey began beneath towering trees that pulsed faintly with bioluminescence, their bark veined like glowing marble. Vines thick as cables hummed when brushed, carrying songs of wind that only Silra seemed to understand. She moved like a ghost, silent, precise. Dren stumbled behind, every footstep a noisy declaration of his humanity. By the second day, he was changing. He stopped complaining about the biting insects. He began to recognize danger in the smallest details, the way the moss quivered just before a trapdoor plant snapped shut, or how the jungle's birds would go silent before predators appeared. He even managed to catch a slippery, scale-finned fish from a glowing stream with his bare hands. When he handed it to Silra, dripping and wriggling, she gave a rare nod of approval. "You learn quickly," she said. "Yeah, well," he replied, panting. "Nothing motivates like almost dying 3 times a day." At night, they camped under roots that arched like stone cathedrals. Silra built the fires, precise and careful, while Dren told rambling stories of Earth, of crowded streets, broken machines, and the taste of real coffee. She listened in silence, eyes reflecting the flames. When he asked her about her clan, she spoke of frost moon rituals, hunts beneath silver skies, and the oath to guard something called the Temple of Yalna. Her voice grew quieter when she spoke of it. "It is the heart of my people. The Ashen cult seeks it. If they drink from the pool of echoes within, they believe it grants immortality." Dren raised an eyebrow. "Immortality? Figures. Every bad guy wants to live forever." She ignored his sarcasm. "The temple does not grant power. It gives truth. A truth so heavy it breaks those unworthy. That is why it must be protected." "Right," Dren said, poking at the fire. "Because obviously nothing says relaxing vacation like cursed pools and murderous cults." But her expression was deadly serious. "They already know you are here, Dren. Your ship's fall lit the sky. You are part of this balance now, whether you wish it or not." For once, he didn't answer. The weight of her words pressed heavier than the humid air. On the 5th night, as Dren lay under his thermal blanket, he heard her humming. A low, melodic sound, soft as mist yet carrying strange sadness. He rolled onto his side, watching her. Her white hair glowed in the firelight. Her silver eyes stared into the flames as if searching for something far away. He didn't know the words. He didn't know the meaning. But he felt it, the loneliness, the hope, the bond forming silently between them. When she noticed his gaze, she fell silent. "Don't stop," he said softly. "It's nice." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. She turned back to the fire and began again, the song carrying both of them into uneasy dreams. The journey hardened Dren, but it also softened Silra. She no longer saw him as just the accidental savior. With every stumble, every clumsy joke, every reckless act of courage, he carved a place deeper into her guarded world. And when dawn broke on the 7th day, painting the sky in shades of violet, they stood together at the edge of a cliff. Far below, mist swirled around a roaring black waterfall. Behind its endless veil of obsidian water, carved into the stone, loomed the entrance to something ancient. "The Temple of Yalna." Silra's voice was steady. "This is where the true test begins." Dren swallowed, staring at the shadows. Knew it. Always a cursed temple. They had survived the jungle. But what awaited beyond the Black Falls would test more than their strength. It would test their hearts. The roar of the Black Falls thundered like endless drums as Dren and Silra stood at the cliff's edge. Mist soaked their skin, cold and heavy, while the jungle seemed to hold its breath behind them. The entrance to the Temple of Yalna was hidden behind the waterfall's veil, carved into the cliff face with ancient precision. Strange runes spiraled outward like veins of light, pulsing faintly as if alive. Silra knelt, her fingers brushing the stone. Her lips moved in a whisper, a prayer in a language Dren did not know. He raised an eyebrow. "What's that? Alien password?" Her silver eyes lifted to his. "It is a warning. Once entered, there is no turning back. The temple tests not the body, but the soul." Dren chuckled nervously. "Great. Soul tests. My favorite." Without another word, Silra stepped into the crashing water and vanished into the dark beyond. Dren sighed. Why do I always follow the crazy ones? He tightened his straps, spat into the mist, and plunged after her. Inside, the roar of water faded into silence. The air was cold, heavy, almost humming. Their footsteps echoed against smooth black stone, polished though no hands had touched it in centuries. Glowing veins of crystal lined the walls, casting faint silver-blue light. The air smelled of iron and ozone, sharp enough to sting his nose. "Cheery place," Dren muttered, his voice bouncing back to him. Silra didn't answer. She moved ahead like a shadow, her eyes scanning the carvings etched deep into the walls. The images told stories: wars, sacrifices, beings with wings of fire and eyes of ice. Her voice was soft. "These are the guardians. They sealed Yalna's truth from unworthy eyes. Only those who carry both sacrifice and will may pass." Dren snorted. "Good news. I'm practically made of bad decisions." The passage narrowed, then widened into a vast chamber. At its center, a pool of black water shimmered like glass. Above it, suspended in midair, floated a shard of crystal, glowing faintly with inner light. The runes around the pool burned brighter as they approached. Silra inhaled sharply. "The pool of echoes." Dren frowned. "That's it? Looks like someone forgot to pay their power bill." But then he heard it. Voices. Whispering. His own voice, layered, distorted, echoing his deepest fears back at him. "You are nothing. You will fail her. You will die here, alone." He staggered back, clutching his head. "What the hell?" Silra steadied him, her hand firm on his arm. "Do not listen. The pool reflects weakness. It twists truth into chains." Her own voice reached her ears, sharp and merciless. "You failed your clan. You let them die. You are unworthy of Thalves." For a heartbeat, her strength faltered. Dren saw it in her eyes: pain, guilt, loneliness she never spoke of. And before he thought better of it, he gripped her hand tightly. "Hey," he said, his voice rough. "Whatever this place says, it's lying. You're the strongest damn person I've ever met. And if you weren't worthy, you wouldn't still be standing." Her silver eyes widened. For a moment, the whispers dimmed. The runes along the chamber walls pulsed, responding not to strength, but to bond. Then the ground shifted. Stone groaned as hidden mechanisms awoke. From the shadows, shapes emerged, guardians of Yalna. They were not flesh, not spirit, but something between, hulking forms of molten stone and liquid light, faces blank, eyes burning with eternal judgment. Dren's hand flew to his knife. "Ah, hell." Silra drew her daggers, her voice calm despite the storm rising. "Stand firm, Thalves. This is the test." The guardians advanced, heavy footsteps shaking the floor. One raised an arm and struck, stone crashing down like a hammer. Dren dove, rolling to the side as the impact shattered the ground. Shards sliced his cheek. He spat blood, adrenaline flooding his veins. Silra moved like lightning, her blades singing against stone. Sparks flew as she carved into one guardian's chest, leaving molten cracks that pulsed with fury. "Little help here." Dren shouted, stabbing his knife into another guardian's leg. The blade barely pierced, but the distraction gave Silra her opening. She vaulted over its arm, plunging both daggers deep into the glowing core. The guardian screamed without a mouth and crumbled into shards. More closed in. The whispers returned, louder, more desperate. "You will fail. She will die because of you. You are not enough." Dren's hands shook, his knife slipping. Fear clawed at him. But then he remembered her voice, steady as fire: "Do not listen." He gritted his teeth, forcing himself forward. Not today. Together, Human and Huntress fought as one, his recklessness balanced by her precision, her strength amplified by his stubborn defiance. And when the last guardian fell, the chamber went still. The pool of echoes rippled. The crystal shard above it flared brighter, casting light across the entire chamber. Silra's voice was low, reverent. It recognizes us. Dren wiped sweat and blood from his face, panting. Great. Now what? Do we get a medal? But before she could answer, the crystal pulsed once more, then sent a beam of light toward them, striking their chests. It seared, yet did not burn. It bound, yet did not chain. Silra gasped. Dren fell to his knees. And in the silence, the temple whispered a single word into both their minds. Chosen. They had passed the trial. But being chosen came with a price neither yet understood. The temple's whisper still echoed in their bones as Dren and Silra emerged from the Black Falls. Dawn bathed the jungle in violet light, the mist curling like ghosts around their feet. Dren rubbed his chest where the crystal's beam had struck. Chosen, he muttered. Still not sure if that's an honor or a death sentence. Silra's expression was unreadable, her silver eyes fixed on the horizon. It is both. Comforting, Dren grumbled. They had taken barely a dozen steps when the jungle grew silent. Too silent. No bird calls. No insect hum. Not even the drip of water from the leaves. Silra froze. Her hand slid to her dagger. We are not alone. Shadows shifted among the trees. Figures emerged tall, hooded, cloaked in ash-gray robes that seemed to drink the light. Masks of bone hid their faces, carved into twisted visages of sorrow and rage. The Ashen Cult. Dren's hand went to his knife, though his gut screamed it wasn't enough. Well, he whispered, guess the welcoming committee's here. The cult leader stepped forward, his robe woven with silver threads that shimmered faintly. His voice was low, rasping like dry leaves. Silra of the Frost Clan. And the human scavenger. Dren bristled. Got a name, you know. The leader ignored him, eyes fixed on Silra. You went into Yelna's temple. You touched the pool of echoes. Silra's jaw tightened. It recognized us. A hiss of whispers swept through the cultists, some fearful, others hungry. The leader's mask tilted. Then fate has delivered what we sought. The bond. The prophecy. The Falves. Dren frowned. Why do I get the feeling I'm not gonna like where this is going? The leader extended a pale, gloved hand. Come with us. The pool's truth belongs to the Ashen. With it, we shall tear the chains of death itself. Silra's daggers gleamed as she drew them. You twist Yelna's purpose. Truth is not for conquest. The cult leader's voice deepened, reverent and mad all at once. All truth is conquest. To deny it is weakness. He motioned with his hand. The cultists raised their staffs, each tipped with shards of black crystal that pulsed with corrupted light. Dren swore under his breath. Of course they've got magic sticks. The first blast came like lightning. A bolt of searing dark energy slammed into the ground, exploding dirt and stone into the air. Dren dove, coughing, while Silra leapt forward, cutting down the nearest cultist in a blur of silver steel. Run, she shouted. They darted through the trees, pursued by flashes of black fire. Branches exploded, roots tore apart, the jungle screaming under the cult's assault. Dren stumbled, barely ducking another blast. This is not running, this is dying slower. Keep moving. Silra barked, her voice steady even as chaos raged. They burst into a clearing ringed with jagged stone pillars. The cult closed in, surrounding them in a tightening circle. The leader stepped forward, mask gleaming in the dawnlight. Do you not see? The bond has marked you. You are no longer free. Yalna's power must be ours. Resist, and you will both perish. Silra stood tall, chest heaving, her silver eyes burning with defiance. Better death than chains. The cult leader's head tilted. Even for your thalves? The words cut deeper than any blade. Dren looked at her, breath ragged. What the hell does that mean? Silra's grip tightened on her daggers, but she said nothing. The leader's voice was almost tender. The bond is unbreakable. If she falls, you fall. If you bleed, she bleeds. 2 lives, 1 thread. Tell me, human, how much are you willing to sacrifice for her? Dren's throat went dry. His mind screamed to deny it, but in his chest, he already knew. The bond wasn't just ritual, it was real. The leader raised his staff high, the black crystal pulsing. Then let us see how strong your bond truly is. The cultists moved as one, their weapons crackling with deadly energy. Silra glanced at Dren, her voice low and steady. Stay behind me. He tightened his grip on his knife, fear clawing at him but stubborn fire burning hotter. Not a chance. And as the cult closed in, blades and shadows clashing against a rising dawn, the bond between alien and human faced its greatest trial yet. Surrounded by the Ashen cult, their bond would decide not only their survival, but the fate of Yalna's truth itself. The clearing blazed with unnatural light as the Ashen cult closed their circle. Black fire hissed from their staffs, crackling against the dawn like thunder caged in stone. Dren stood back to back with Silra, his knife trembling in his grip. Her daggers gleamed with cold fire, her stance a predator's poise. The cult leader raised his staff. 2 bound as 1. Break them, and Yalna's truth is ours. The circle tightened. Shadows surged. On my mark, Silra whispered. Dren swallowed hard. Please tell me your mark is run. Her lips curved into the faintest smirk. Fight. The first blast struck like lightning. Silra twisted, her blade slicing through the arc, scattering sparks into the air. Dren lunged at another cultist, driving his knife into the gap between ribs. Pain flared along his side as a blast skimmed him, yet Silra gasped, staggering as though struck herself. He froze. Wait, that was me? Her jaw clenched. The bond. Your wounds echo in me. The cult leader's laugh was a dry hiss. Yes. 2 lives. 1 thread. Break one, and the other unravels. Dren cursed. So basically, if I screw up, we both die. Fantastic. Then do not screw up, Silra said sharply, driving her blade into another attacker. The battle raged. For every cultist that fell, 2 more pressed forward. Black fire scorched the trees, filling the air with ash and smoke. Dren fought with desperation, clumsy but relentless, while Silra moved like flowing steel. Again and again, he thought they were finished until she pulled him back, until he covered her flank. And each time their eyes met, the bond pulsed stronger, burning through the venom, through the fear, through the impossible odds. Still, exhaustion crept in. Cuts bled. Their breath grew ragged. The cult leader stepped forward, staff blazing. You cannot win. The pool has marked you, but only we can wield its gift. Yield, and I may let one of you live. Dren spat blood onto the dirt. Yeah? Pick a number between hell and no. The leader sneered. So be it. He struck the ground with his staff. The earth split open, darkness spilling like liquid shadow. From it rose a monstrous form, an avatar of the cult's madness, a beast of bone and fire, its maw dripping molten ash. Silra's face hardened. He is called the Guardian of Ash. We cannot defeat it. Dren stared. Then what the hell do we do? Her eyes flickered to him, Silver burning with both fear and something deeper. There is one way. The bond can be severed only in sacrifice. If one of us gives willingly, the other may carry Yalna's truth forward. Dren's throat closed. You're saying, one of us dies? She nodded once. It is the only path. The beast roared, fire shaking the earth. The cult chanted, voices rising in fevered ecstasy. Dren's mind raced. He had never asked for this. He wasn't a hero. He was just a scavenger who crashed in the wrong jungle. And yet, when he looked at her, he knew. She had fought for him. Trusted him. Bound herself to him. And for the first time in his life, he wanted to be more than a survivor. He gripped her hand tightly. Listen. If someone's dying here, it's gonna be me. Her eyes widened. No. You carry no oath. You cannot. I can, he cut in, voice breaking. Because you matter. You've got a people to protect. A temple to guard. Me? I'm just noise. Her grip tightened, fierce and desperate. Do not speak of yourself so. You are Thalves. Half of me. Without you, I am broken. The beast's roar grew closer. Fire licked the trees. The cult screamed in triumph. Dren pressed his forehead to hers, their breaths mingling. Then we do this together. No sacrifice. No surrender. Just us. The bond flared. Light erupted from their joined hands, searing white and silver, brighter than the dawn. It surged outward, a wave of raw truth that burned through the cult's black fire. The beast shrieked as its molten form cracked and shattered into ash. Cultists screamed, their robes igniting, their masks splitting as the light consumed them. Only silence remained. When the glow faded, Dren and Silra still stood wounded, trembling, but alive. The clearing was empty save for drifting ash. The cult was gone. The bond remained. Silra stared at him, wonder in her eyes. You defied Yalna's choice. Dren gave a weak grin. What can I say? I don't like rules. For the first time, she laughed, a sound like frost breaking under spring sun. And together, side by side, they turned from the ruins of battle. The jungle stretched ahead, dangerous as ever, but now it no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a beginning. Clapperboard ending for CP7, grand finale. They had faced death, cult, and prophecy. And though the bond had been born of venom and chance, it had become something greater, an unbreakable choice. Together, they walked into a future unwritten.